Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello. How are y'all?
Doing well.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for being here on Good Friday. I'm sorry when we scheduled it, I didn't realize today was Good Friday, but happy Good Friday.
Happy Good Friday.
Me too.
We're good.
Right.
Thanks for the adjustment.
Yeah.
We are down in Arkansas right now. We do a yearly trip, I think, as you guys know, and so we try to personally give that big $5,000 check to everybody. And
Awesome.
our VP at Shane had his 2 year yesterday,
Nice.
so came down to have some brunch with them. So we appreciate the adjustment.
Awesome. No, thank you guys. Thank you for being available. Well, let me give you the official BeerNet Radio welcome. I'd like to welcome to BeerNet Radio Adam and Amanda Kroener, co-founders of Carbliss, the fast-growing RTD born in the Midwest. Last year, Carbliss did just under 3 million cases, only distributing to a sliver of the U.S., so lots of run room left to go. And they're still up triple digits last time I checked, opening new markets and inviting a lot of competition to the category. So welcome, Adam and Amanda.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Jen and Jordan.
Absolutely. Well, so we've had Adam on before. Amanda, this is our first time meeting you in person, so very nice to meet you.
You too.
Yeah. And so I hear, obviously, you both are co-founders, but I hear that you're now full-time with the brand, which is really cool. What are like your first line of priorities for the company?
I've been doing a lot of project-based work. For example, we earlier this year launched a co-manufacturer in Canada. So I've been working on all of the importing and exporting, getting everything set up so we can move the product. Of course, as we all know, the tariffs have come in the middle of that, but we're working our way through it. And so I'm trying to go titleless so I can just be that right-hand person for anybody that needs anything, make sure everyone has the tools they need so they can keep on running.
Nice. Awesome. So do you guys foresee a big export business?
It's more logistical for future expansion. So we're doing it in Toronto, and Toronto is about an hour and a half, I think, drive from the upper Northeast. Right now we're in Ohio. So 23 or 24, we started searching for, as we get out, Ohio can only get so far to really service the distributors well. So honestly, we don't have any volume commitments. It was just future planning for probably 26, maybe even 27 to be ready for those distributors.
At this time, we'll just bring the product back to Wisconsin and use our normal distributorship.
That makes sense. But as you said, a lot of challenges right there with that, but you're working through that, right?
Yes.
Any hints about tariffs that you could share with people?
Other than that, it changes every day. And every time I talk to someone, they're like, I have to advise this information is only good for 30 minutes.
I think you told me that the import and export paperwork is like the favorite thing you've ever done, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I was going to ask, did you pick full-time before this, or did they say, okay, we need you full-time now that everything's going on?
No, it was more or less like I knew the time was right. I felt I could start to bring a lot of value to the business in different ways as we were growing. And I also had the opportunity to do some things in corporate America and learn a lot. And now I can bring that back into our own business. And so valuable all the way around. It was good timing.
Yeah, she pre-planned it, I think, even going back to like June of 24. She was a CFO at a pretty big auto dealership in the States. So she did it right and planned, probably literally months and months in advance to have somebody in place, train that person. And
then I moved to their board of directors. So I didn't want to leave them completely either. And so I still get to stay involved there as well, which is the best of both worlds, in my opinion.
Amazing.
Right. So are you guys, you are working together more than before. How is that? What's that dynamic like?
You can go first.
Well, so I had gone part-time a bit back in 2021, and I'd say it didn't go great. I was doing a lot of administrative things, and it wasn't the right time. So now coming into it, I have a whole different mindset. I'm not like fighting for any type of control. I've had my executive spot, and I just want to help everybody as much as I can. And we've had this great dynamic of kind of fulfilling that CEO spot. If Adam's traveling, then I can help everyone in the office, and it's been a really good dynamic, better than we expected.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
I personally was nervous because, like she said, in 21 or 22, when she was part-time, because of our size, the only extra things we had were like, oh, take care of these emails while we're out. And because she had done more high level stuff, to her, it was like, why am I doing this?
Mhm.
And the timing was perfect. And with me traveling 80% of my time, the beauty of it is like HR, finance, ops, marketing, they're all out of the corporate office in, big old Plymouth, Wisconsin. And so what used to take 3 to 7 days of Adam to get back to an email or wait till Adam's back in the office, we don't discuss it. We're very aligned on that type of strategy. They just walk over to Amanda. She makes a decision, go forward. So I think it's made us a lot more efficient just in home office on the way we're able to operate, because people can get answers super quick.
Right. Awesome. Well, obviously you guys are already doing well, and this is just, I don't know how much higher you can go, right? Like y'all are already up triple digits and opening new markets. So, but we have been doing kind of the spring, circuit for, Ledge Conference and some of the supplier meetings and this sort of thing. And the story is that Q1 has been tough for the industry, right? So what's driving your growth? How are you guys overcoming that? I'm sure new distribution helps, but what else is behind it?
Yeah. So I know when last time we spoke, I think I said we were up, that was probably mid-Feb or so, we were up 130%. That was scan data. Scan data, we're still up about 115%. Shipments and depletions were up maybe 40, 50. Overall, our new markets, and I will include like Ohio, which we've now been in for almost a year, even Kansas, Indiana, you take some of those out, and those are maybe 8-9% of our business. So there is not a market that is not growing. We do have a few that look a little more flat where they're 2 or 3%, but our biggest market is home state of Wisconsin. They're still growing at close to 20%. So all in all, I think 90% of our SKUs are still growth. The ones that aren't, we're starting to look at anyways. And yeah, so all in all, business is growing stably as it was. New markets are going actually better than we originally anticipated, especially with these whole market launches. So understand that from a beer market, it's not looking pretty, but on the Carbliss side, it's a nice green chart.
We've also rolled out some innovation that's been helpful as we start to fill the shelves with our new tropical pack and the new mango 4-pack. So with that all launching in February, we're filling up the warehouses and such with that at the same time, preparing for summer.
And I forgot to add, in summary of Mr. Scott Godwin, we are down here celebrating from fall 24 to spring 25, picked up 11,000 pods in that little sliver of geography. So just an amazing win so we're starting to see those drop. We'll start to see some more variety pack movement, but we've seen some of them, but I think in the next few weeks, we'll really start to see that happen in the scan data as well.
Innovation and distribution gains in your existing footprint.
Yep. Which is good news for us.
Yeah.
I wanted to pick up on innovation real quick. I was looking at y'all's website and I saw that there is a new line of Carbliss cocktails that are only in Iowa, but they look like they might be malt. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. It's interesting because I thought that might come up, and you answered it though. You found it on our website because yes, test in Iowa. So it's 19.2 malt based. Ultimately, the way we're looking at it, I guess you could say, is the consumer that we believe is buying that product is different than the consumer of a spirits based 4-pack. And so from a market size perspective, the consumers that are going to drink that would never touch a 4-pack for 10 or 11 bucks. So it's really working to expand our understanding of how the Carbliss brand can move within different markets, similar to how we did the cocktail collection years ago with like the Margarita and the Moscow Mule. Sometimes brands will change the label, right? And there's a lot of big brands out there that do that. And what we're testing is, does the Carbliss name brand travel within different segments, or do we have to look at, adjusting that go-to-market strategy? And that is a test in Iowa and Iowa only. No further plans. It's a test to the point of if it falls flat on its face, nothing changes. It's just let's see how this works. So far, so good though. The distribution network in Iowa is kicking butt. Great distribution, decent rebuys already with no marketing behind it really. And we think in the next couple months, as our chain drops start to happen for those, we'll see some good traction.
Yeah, and that's the only single serve y'all have in your portfolio, right? How did you think about pricing with that?
Pricing was pretty well just aligned with what was in the market. I think no different than Carbliss in general. Carbliss focuses very much on product excellence and making sure the product is much different than what's out on the market. We're getting to the point where there's going to be copycats, we believe, but so far conceptually there have been really none. Right? If you've put liquid to lips on our product next to anything else, there is nothing like it. And so we're really betting on that piece, knowing that if we're line priced, there's a really good chance that once they try our product, we think they're getting something they're going to like better.
Yeah. Cool. And you wanted to get into malt, right? This is your first foray into trying to break into malt. Am I understanding that correctly? Or
yeah. It's a very long-term play in just broader market. I don't know of many of the brands that have done well and haven't stayed in one lane. But doing it earlier on allows us to fail quick if it doesn't go, and go back to the drawing board to really reinvent the wheel if we need to. And if it works, then we can scale it methodically like we have with the spirits brand.
Right. And then I assume Iowa was chosen because it's not your home market, but it's close. So you want somewhere where you have some brand recognition, but maybe not as strong as home, right?
Proximity actually had nothing to do with it. Okay. Iowa is a decently strong C-store state, had a lot of chain, and ultimately our per capita consumption in Iowa, although the volume is much less, is about 2.5x what it is in our home state. Oh, wow. So it's a different go-to-market process for Carbliss, and we are betting on it in a different way. So actually part of the belief is that there's a better likelihood that it will be successful in a state outside of home state because of that per capita sales consumption.
Got it. And I think you guys are with AB there, right? Y'all are with Dahl, maybe?
Yep. Dahl and big. Everybody's AB except for the Northwest chunk. We're with Premier.
Got it. Shout out to Dahl. Lauren's my girl.
Yeah. Lauren, Mark, Andrew, the whole Dahl team has been just tremendous to work with, and no, we've had really good positive feedback from the entire AB network in Iowa.
Cool. Let's talk about, we're talking about a larger 19.2 format, and sometimes those tend to be a good bang for your buck play for the consumer right now. What are you guys seeing with the consumer in terms of how stressed they are, what they're gravitating toward?
I think that has been the hardest part for us when you look at the growth. Like I read every article I possibly can that comes out of you guys and 7 others. So far, I think part of this narrow and deep process is we're still gaining the benefit of organic growth and understanding of what the brand is and new entrants into the liquid. So we have to assume there's attrition happening, but because of the way the market's been built, we're not seeing it or feeling it.
Nice.
But I would say even similar with the malt, we'll still go with the Carbliss mantra, which is just straightforward with simple flavors that we believe becomes easy for the consumer to know exactly what they're getting.
I wanted to kind of take a step back and ask a big picture question, but going from an independent brand going from 0 to 3 million cases in 5 years just doesn't really happen. And you didn't come into this with a bev alc background to boot. So what did you look to? What was the model, or who or what was your guide in navigating not only unfamiliar territory, but now kind of uncharted waters and growing so fast and getting so big?
So I'm going to pitch it to Amanda, but I think probably.
I'll start in the first 2 years. We made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, a ton.
But we learned a ton. And we were able to retract because we were still growing at a very slow pace. That didn't hurt us like it could if we were making those same mistakes today. But really, it's come down to our team and the support that we have around us. Those that are experts in the industry and are helping us pave that path together. We have such a strong culture. It's really the team. I don't know if you want to add to that, but we're just supporting all of them as we grow, guide the path, but they're out there every day working hard, getting the name out. They're everything to the brand.
Yeah, well, 100%. And I think I'm saying the same thing. She had seen Craig Culver. I don't know if you have any Culvers near you speak. And so he talked about his backyard to backyard approach. Now, originally that was our plan. Like if we looked at my first business plan in 2018, before the brand existed, it talked about Illinois and Minnesota and Iowa and North, basically some of our first launch states, Michigan. And about 3 months in, we met some consultants and they said, oh, that makes no sense. You want to go to California, and Texas, and Florida, and New York. That's where the people are, in Chicago, and so, I mean, as a person who had some good, we had some good traction in Wisconsin, I did the math and I'm like, oh my God, like, give me all that. So we did that. And those people got us, I remember the first one was, we got you statewide distribution in Nebraska. And this is not a peg on that person, but we had statewide distribution in Wisconsin with Badger and Frank, right? Well, I found out that statewide distribution is just a term. It was one CEO and one salesperson for the whole company. And that's way different than, what you have with a whole Molson network, with a whole Red network, or with a whole Spirits network. And so that lasted 8-9 months. Then we found another consultant that said, yep, we got you. Yeah, that whole Texas thing, that Texas, California, that's the right plan. And they were just like, they did a great job of getting us distribution, but it was like shooting a shotgun. And if the BB, hits the bird, then let's go. And we got to a point pretty quick where we're like, hey, this isn't going well. Like, yeah, we're getting distribution, but we're not getting rebuys. We want rebuys because that's going to build the brand. And they basically, we're in the industry. We know better. Don't you worry. And I think really the catalyst to me, we hired our first salesperson, saw an immediate impact in the state of Wisconsin. Within about 3 weeks of that is when we met our now EVP Mike, and we sat down with him and we talked about this backyard to backyard. And he's like, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And he was now the industry professional who's going to be paid by us. He believed in the same philosophy. Obviously had contacts that we did not. He didn't. He wasn't exploiting any of them. It was all like, come see the brand. And that's it was a symbiotic understanding of, we want to do this well. We want it to be personable, which is why we have so many market managers. But yeah, completely different, but same version of team. And now we've just got 60 awesome people swimming the same boat in the same race.
So that's feet on the street, business to business, account to account, basically, right?
Yeah.
And of course, we hit 50, so now we have HR and director of accounting.
Very cool.
All the things you have to get as you grow.
Yeah, we still haven't gotten all those things. No, I'm kidding.
No.
Right. We're only 6 people, so.
Yeah.
Well, enjoy that for now.
Right. We wear all the hats. We say inappropriate things to HR, but anyway.
That's fair.
No judgment here.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh my gosh. Well, talking about the markets, you mentioned Texas. You guys. Sorry, did y'all have that echo? Sorry,
it's gone
echo
now.
over here. Okay, it's gone. So Texas, you all have just entered, right? Have you entered the state of Texas or just Houston?
Well, our plan is to enter Houston whenever the Texas ABC allows us to do so.
If you know anybody there.
Yeah, we do, but
really
if you could just
licensing,
Facebook poke them or something, that'd be great.
right? Some team members in the market, and they're patiently waiting. So we've planned the launch a few times, and we don't have a solid one yet. Still waiting.
Yeah, don't. They're silly. They need to get on that. And then a couple other states. I think you guys were looking at Kentucky, Colorado, or how close are those?
We launched Kentucky 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So we're 75% distributed there. And then still in the process of the other states. Our business development directors working through that. So Kentucky's off the ground, waiting on Texas, and nothing else is scheduled at the moment.
How do you guys think of your cadence of growing distribution, right? What's the goal?
Well, we'll go back. She mentioned the 75% Kentucky. We were intending to do a state launch with that, like we did with Indiana, because Indiana went very, very well. And ultimately, we just didn't get some of the contracts done in time to set it up. But in summary, our cadence has always been patient, but very, very aggressive. And what we're working on and testing is how do we keep being patient, keep being aggressive, but geographically doing it stronger and faster. And that'll just give us the right to start. We don't want to discount any future customers, being distributors or consumers. And so if we can prove the method and do it at a bigger scale, it just helps allow us to move faster. And I mean, so far with the success of Indiana and what we're starting to see in Kentucky, we believe we've got a process that'll allow us to move faster and scale faster and do it the Carbliss way.
Right. Are there any chains that are, I mean, I know chains are less applicable when you're talking about spirits versus the malt, but are there any chains that are like pushing you to open new markets because they want you to be in their other states?
It would be easier to list which ones aren't.
I was just going to say all of them.
Okay.
I mean,
our director of chain, he would also be very pleased.
Yeah. I would say the big ones, and there's most of them, I would say, pushed up until 6-8 months ago, and then they started going, okay, Carbliss is going to just keep doing what they're doing. But Costco, Walmart, Kroger, hit or miss depending on the buying set. And the biggest one being Total Wine. I think in the last couple months have been on a few calls with them, and I know it's hard from they look at the sales dollars and the size of our brand and their little footprint, the little footprint that we're in of theirs, and they want to take it everywhere. But we're firm believers that if we just do that, the numbers aren't going to keep going. It's not going to be the same. But if we keep doing it in our method, we can very much closer to guaranteeing that repeat when we get into the market, rather than just betting on the data crossing over because it works somewhere else.
And how many states are you guys in at this point? I forget. I'm sorry.
Kentucky was 15, I think.
Yeah. We're going to need to put a map up and start numbering them.
Yeah.
Would you kind of hinted that some copycat brands are coming. Would a copycat brand expanding nationally, or one from a big company trying to pump that up, would that change your stance on a slow and measured approach, you think?
I mean, it would be ignorant to think we didn't think this day would come. And that's part of, this whole Indiana, Kentucky play was much, we plan a lot of stuff. So things like this groundwork's been planned for a while. Making us go faster than what we kind of already planned to, I would say no. Part of our plan is to go faster. We're just in the middle of testing it. But I was talking to Clem a couple of weeks ago, and it was just an interesting conversation where, he's dealing with similar concept, and, in his words, and I understand, they were the first spirits-based tea, right? And so, but if somebody else beats them to California, the person in California believes they are maybe the second or third tea. And I hadn't really ever considered it with that conceptual piece. It was more focused on the liquid and the brand, but he definitely had me thinking about it differently. But we haven't really changed any plans from that perspective at all.
That's funny, because I kind of had Clem and the Surfside brand in mind when I was asking that question, because I felt like they had something and then it kind of got sidetracked. And it seems like a parallel right now with one of the copycats I can think off the top of my head coming from a similar place.
The name's not the same at all, is it?
Just a random fast follower. That's
yeah. I mean, what do they say? Imitation is the greatest form of flattery. That mediocrity can pay to greatness. And that's the whole quote, by the way.
I like that. You don't usually hear the second half of that
Oh, no.
quote. That's great.
In this situation, it's very important to remember. Makes you
That's
feel better.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what though? I mean, kind of taking the whole conversation out to the nth degree, I think there is something to be said for first to market, because in the Surfside example, so far as we see, and if you look at the total scans, they still are by far number one in that segment, right? Yep. And you all are obviously. So kind of asked a little bit differently, is it good for the category to have somebody big come in? Because then retailers say, oh, we need to allocate even more space to this category, right? Or no?
I am a firm believer that it's never a bad thing for competition in the grand scheme of things. I'm sure there's sometimes when there's weird disruptions, but even when I have people who aren't in the business that say, oh, don't you wish this didn't exist? Well, if this one product didn't exist, I wouldn't exist because I never would have came up with the concept. There's another product in our category. High noon is huge, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
If I'm a firm believer that if it was not for high noon, I don't know that the consumer would be comfortable paying $11 for our 4-pack. And so, although our product is different, the segment was formed because of those very big brands. So that's where I see it as a positive. It just ends up being wading through the ebbs and flows of what's going to happen in the market when the big guys are able to push a little bit. And ultimately, the reason we're patient and aggressive is all of those things. It's our way of trying to solidify that through all the fluff, Carbliss is still going to have a very stable market, and we're still going to continue to grow in that way. And then it's a lot harder to disrupt something that has really deep roots. And the brand has not been a long time, but the market penetration is pretty solid, and that's where we see the deep roots.
Yeah, awesome. And then, just speaking of that $11 4-pack, are you guys looking at changing that at all? Or, there's tariffs and there's lots of things. Are you looking at going up a little bit or holding pat?
Pricing, we don't have plan to change. I'll let Amanda talk a little bit more about the tariff stuff.
I mean, we're planning ahead, knowing some of our ingredients are going to be impacted, and how can we absorb that the best we can? We don't have plans to pass it on to the consumer for as long as we possibly can.
Yeah.
Based on what we know. We don't
right.
intend. No.
Again, I'll ask you again in 30 minutes to your point earlier, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Well, this has been fascinating. I mean, I think maybe just one or two things left to talk about, including marketing, right? I had seen that you all have a deal with the American Association of Professional Baseball. What does that entail? That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. So we have a few MLB sponsorships, but we've gotten pretty bullish on the AA, AAA, single A. Quite frankly, the major league ones are a marketing expense. If the ones that we're doing with all the A's, a lot of times we can actually almost net neutral on the product that sells through their stadium. And so we were actually introduced through a different model. It was a different company a tech company that introduced us. And when we looked at it, it was just, again, we want to be part of the community. And so that's why we have market managers. And when I think about a game like the Brewers or the Twins or the Tigers, those are usually, unless you're super local to Milwaukee or Detroit, that's usually a trek and a once or twice type thing, right? The people going usually live pretty close. And so how do we continue to focus on sporting? How do we continue to focus on being within the community? Well, those type of events have 3,000 to 4,000 moms, dads. They're comfortable taking 3 or 4 kids there because they didn't pay a ton for tickets, and pricing of CPG items aren't quite as much. So I think it's really just an extension of what we were doing, and it's a good test to see. We're learning a lot about sponsorships, right? And so we've done now the big teams. This is an entity, right? So it's not the Brewers, it's MLB, but it's not MLB. So what would that be called? Basically a league. It's a league sponsorship. And this is our way to, again, test that philosophy without having it be a really, really big league. And then if it fails, we're out a lot of money.
And when you're picking a league, it's nice to pick one that has a lot of games, which, baseball is known for.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. And what are the Savannah Bananas part of? What league is that?
That's a really good point, Jen, because part of our challenge when we get these requests, I love racing. IndyCar, hey, can you sponsor us? Road America, my local, can you sponsor this bridge? Like, well, what's the value based on? All the TV impressions. I'm like, cool, of the 90% of Americans who can't buy my product.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So we've never done any of that for that exact reason, is the spend is not justified because of our geographic footprint. This baseball team grouping, I think there is one team in Canada that we wouldn't sell into, and then one in like Dallas. And the rest of them, we either were already in or had plans to expand into in this year. So it made sense geographically to do that as well.
Yeah. Jay,
Cool.
anything?
No, I think that's all I got. I don't want to keep y'all any longer on the holiday, but I really appreciate the time, and it's been a fascinating conversation. It was nice to meet you, Amanda, too, as well. So
Yeah, pleasure to meet both of you.
Yes, thank you for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. And you guys are going to double your cases this year, right? Okay, cool.
Not quite.
Not quite, but close. We'll be.
Well, I was telling her, I said, if they ask, maybe you should answer, because the last time I answered, we didn't hit it.
Well,
I mean,
you
this
pretty
close.
much did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, come on, let's round up.
Rounding
please.
error, right?
We didn't like good enough.
Yeah, I can tell.
It was awesome. It is amazing growth.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, still want to hit the goals.
Yeah. So do y'all have any projections you can share, or you're still kind of working on that, considering all of the things, all the moving parts right now?
Yeah, we do.
We do. We keep performing them. So that's where you want to be.
So our goal is 4.5 million this year, cases. As of April, from what I know, if we finish out, we are about 25% above our shipment budget so far.
Okay.
So outpacing, I do know last year we were ahead this time as well, and then summer ended up being lighter than we anticipated because we had never had a summer with inventory. We did bring that down this year. So all things said and done, we think we're going to have an extraordinary year, and all the innovation keeps outperforming what we anticipated. So like I said, all things green in the Carbliss world and going well.
Yeah. Well, this is the podcast where all your dreams are supposed to come true. So you spoke it into existence.
There we go. I like it.
All right, y'all. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Have a great holiday weekend, and we'll talk again soon.
Awesome.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jen and Jordan. Have a good one.
Thank
Bye-bye.
y'all. Cheers.